Howdy y'all, got another battle report for ya. This one, we're going Seraphon versus some Fyreslayers. Now, Fyreslayers are a bit of my tournament nemesis. Every time I face them in a tournament, I've gotten absolutely slaughtered by them. So I'm kind of glad my buddy Chris has picked up Fyreslayers so that we can run some Fyreslayer games here on our local table. So, my list that I'm bringing today is a little bit different. I have 100 skinks at home, so I decided let's run it and see what it does. So this list is pretty straightforward. I'm just going to try to pump up those skinks as much as possible. They're going to be we're going to be in Starborn and Fangs of Sotek, and so in that specific allegiance and subfaction. In the enemy's charge phase, at the end of the enemy's charge phase, you can shoot the skinks again for a command point. Okay. Interesting rule, GW, especially because 40 skinks get double the attack, so they get 80 shots. So as long as I have 2 command points in my enemy's charge phase, I'm going to roll 160 dice at you. Sorry, Chris. Not exactly the most fun list to play against, but I kind of wanted to see how it would do. So my list, we can see it over here. I brought Kroak because every Seraphon list should have Kroak in it. He's just that good. He gives you a chance at 3 extra command points every turn. He has a 4-up after save, which is kind of nice. And he has some killer spells for when people get in close. This list, I'm going to be pushing out his range a little bit. I'm going to try that and see how it does, because I do have the Astrolith banner and I do have Balewind Vortex, so I can get his spammable spell up to 22 inches, really about 27 inches turn 1 if I line him up on the line, and so that's kind of the goal here. So I am taking 2 Skink Starpriests and 2 Skink Priests. So basically, I want 40 Skinks to each have a Starpriest and a Priest with them, to kind of buff that horde up, and so it can get all as killy as possible. Because the Star Priest can give it to where 6s on the wounds do mortals. So when you're rolling 80 dice, you're not they're 5s and 5s base, so you're not going to do a ton of damage even with 80 dice. But what you're fishing for are those 6s on wounds. The Skink Priest can give them +1 to save, but also run and charge, or run and charge and shoot. So in Fangs of Sotek, that's actually really good because you get an extra 3 inches. So if you auto-run these guys or roll high, plus an extra 3, plus if you flip the Constellations to add 1 to running, so you're running these guys 15 inches, and then plus 3, so 18 inches, plus they can shoot 16 inches. So these guys have incredible range turn 1. You can hit just about anything. So those 2 hordes are going to be really my main source of output for damage. You can also get them up to a 4-up save using the Skink Priest's stick there that he has, his I don't know what you call it, his ability that he can give to him. And then his command ability is +1 to hit. And so now you're gonna get 80 shots on each of those hordes hitting on 4s. So you should have 40 go through, and now you're fishing for those 6s to do mortals. And so now your output looks a little bit better. It's not too bad. But it's just you're trying to drown your opponent in dice. So you're going to have, 160 dice in my turn. If I get a double turn, another 160, and then you charge them another 160. So it's kind of disgusting. I mean, I would wait for the FAQ before I go buy 100-something skinks, but this list ain't too bad. As long as you like rolling dice. Astrolith Starbearer, he is going to help help Kroak push out his spell range, but also he's not bad to help with a few summoning points, and he gives a 6-up Feel No Pain to everybody within range. So I had to give him the Artefact Serpent God Dagger, which I guess he's the best for that. I don't know. If he gets in melee, he has a chance to just outright slay a model. I don't really ever want him in melee. I don't want any of my heroes in melee, so I didn't really have a good target to give that to. maybe one of the Skink Priests, but I think the banner had a little bit better chance of surviving if he got into combat and maybe do some damage. 40 Skinks, 40 Skinks, 10 Skinks, 10 Skinks. We got 100 Skinks. They're all daggers and shields because that's how I had them built previously. So they do have a 5-up save, which is actually pretty good, especially if you point the priest staff at them. Then they get a 4-up save. Now all of a sudden these guys are pretty tough. I mean, 4-up save, 100 wounds. That's not bad. And I brought 2 Bastiladons because they are the best. At first, when they first released these, I thought, man, what'd they do to the Bastiladon? They made them... This is not good. But I've played a couple games with them, and once you kind of understand that the 1-up save is only unmodified ones will do damage right now, contingent on whatever they do with the FAQ, they're pretty good. You can't get them to double shoot here in this list, but you can in Thunderquake, and that's kind of nice. But in this list, you're going to fire from behind all these Skinks. If you somehow get through all the Skinks, then the Bastiladon's still there. He can fire over. He's got plenty of range and a tough target to deal with. I'm also buying an extra command point just to make sure I start with one in case they alpha strike. I can shoot if I need to, or if I need to save my guys via battle shock. And then Quicksilver Swords, because I had 30 points. I'd rather have that a bound one. But I didn't. I went just normal. I don't think I ended up using it at all this game. It's situational, and it never came up really. So that's my list. We're playing on Duality of Death. You can see the objective here. So we got those 2 objectives, and they can only be scored by a hero or a battle line within 3 inches of it. So this one is actually, it may come down to who goes first, but he has a lot tougher guys. So he's Fyreslayer. His list, I don't have his exact list, so he had 20 of the Hearthguard Berserkers with the flame poles, and then 20 with the axes, and then 20 Volkite Berserkers. So he had 3 major power groups, and then some requisite heroes that go with it. I don't know exactly what they do. The ones that tunnel, the Rune Smiters, and then all 3 of the Magmic Invocations. They're endless spells that are totally not endless spells. So that's his list. He outdropped me, so he was able to take turn 1. I've got some pictures here. If I can figure it out. So turn that one off. Okay, so here's our deployment. I saw he was putting a lot of his guys on this right side, along with his forge. And so I put a little bit less power over here, wanting to emphasize more on this one, try to hold this one, and then force project over to this one later in the game. So he does have his 2 big groups off the board. They're going to be tunneling in. One was the Volkites, and then one was the Berserkers with the flame poles. So that's what our deployment looked like. I did put a unit of 40 Skinks here, along with the 2 Skink Priest, Skink Starseer, and then a Bastiladon here. On this side, I've got Kroak, the banner, Bastiladon, the 2 support heroes, 40 Skinks, 10 Skinks, and then 10 over here just in case he decided to get a little crazy and try to charge in all this stuff here. So he took turn 1, and that was, I guess, so he could get on the objectives, but he played it pretty aggressively, and if it had worked, it would have been game over real quick. So there's another look at my deployment. So one of the biggest things is just to make sure you get that range on those Skink Priests. Make sure that everything is in range that you need in range when you deploy them, so that you can get off those buffs turn 1. Right side, you kind of see that. Bastiladon was just there because this deployment is tight. And especially with the way our table is built, we've got these big like mountain terrain things which offer incredible cover. And these tables, we're constantly in cover on these tables. But there's not much to deploy because you're only 12 inches up and you've only got this one board right here to be on. So deployment was a little tight. That's why my Bastiladons kind of ended up in the back. On his turn, he brought in the 20 Hearthguard Berserkers outside of 9 here. They're going to try to make that charge. He's got a hero up and cover here, and then the Volkite Berserkers. So Hearthguard Berserkers over here, Volkite Berserkers over here, making this charge. So that's scary. Looking at that, knowing that they could fight twice, and could just destroy my army turn one. Luckily for me, unluckily for him, he did not make the charge, and he re-rolled it for this one. He used one of his command points for this one. He did not make that charge, and so I think that's what saved me right there. If that hadn't happened, it probably would have been game over pretty quick. If he could have made that 9-inch charge, he had 2 tries at it, didn't get it. These Volkite Berserkers made it in, and they killed off quite a few Skinks. I did not shoot in his charge phase because I only had 1 command point, and I knew I would need it for Battle Shock. And those Skinks over there, those 40 Skinks, they weren't pumped up, so it would have just been 80 shots, 5s and 5s. We wouldn't have made much through. And those guys are pretty tough. So I didn't use my command point there. I just kind of banked on trying to save as many as possible and use my command abilities on the next turn. So since he didn't get this charge in, I think that's probably what saved the game. Made it competitive, at least. So that's already on my turn. So over here, yeah, his Volkites made it in, and basically they become a tar pit for these Skinks over here. These Skinks don't advance for quite some time. He doesn't ever quite kill the Skinks. I think he gets maybe 30 of them down, and 10 survive by the time I grind out those Volkite Berserkers. So not too shabby. The Skinks, after he killed a few, were completely in cover, so they had a 4-up save. And then I'd point the stick at him, get him even higher to a 3-up. So it was pretty good. Pretty good. He failed, I think, basically all his invocations back here. Or maybe he only had enough to cast 1 or 2 and it failed. I can't remember. Because I think later these guys cast some more for him. So in his turn, he captures those 2 with those battle lines. And now it's my turn. So I advance. I get all these guys buffed. You can see all my buffs over here. They get all their buffs up. I just move these up to within 3. And I'm just going to start shooting everything possible. I burned through quite a few command points in this game. I think turn 1, though, I hit on all 3 Kroaks. I hit on at least 1 or 2 of the Starpriest. So I had added maybe an extra 6 or maybe more than that command points in turn 1. So I had a ridiculous number of command points. So I'm gonna use as many of those as I can and then save a couple for his turn so I can make sure and shoot when he tries to charge. Or if he doesn't even charge, just in his charge phase. He's within range of Kroak's ability. So I'm pumping as many of those spammable spells as I can. I only killed 1 of his Hearthguard, but I killed off that boss there. That was pretty good. So that was pretty important. I killed off that boss, which helps with some battle shock and maybe makes the save after worse or something maybe. I can't remember. I did teleport. Hey, Seraphon still has a teleport. So I teleported these Skinks up here just to create pressure here so I can have some bodies that if for some reason I don't clear this off and he charges, I'll be able to get some guys in that way. So I shoot a lot. We remove quite a few there. It looks like 1 tray is gone, plus another 4 from that one. And it was enough, so that's 9 guys. Enough to cause some pretty hardcore battle shock. Over here, those look like thralls. They're not thralls. We were playing them. Those are his Volkite Berserkers. He hadn't finished the army yet, so they are still stuck in combat with these Skinks. We're shooting them. They're not doing a ton of damage back. They're killing quite a few Skinks every turn, but we're killing enough Volkite Berserkers to make up for it. Because I'm also shooting this Bastiladon, who's having to slowly trudge around this mountain to get towards the objective. I'm gonna try to get him over here. These guys right here are the ones that have the rend on them, not the mortals. So I feel pretty confident that I can slam that Bastiladon eventually into those guys and do okay, since he pretty much ignores rend until he takes a certain number of damage. So. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. That's dumb. Yeah, don't take something towards Berserkers. But, hey, that's what I'm doing. This guy took some wounds. I don't remember how. He's almost dead. but I don't think he dies. So that turn, we're just shooting a whole lot of dice. I do get the double turn. Oh, man. I jumped the gun. I get the double turn. So that's huge. So you can notice now that there is a certain lack of Hearthguard Berserkers here. So a double turn versus this army is brutal. Because we've got 80 shots here. Then on my double turn, I get another 80 shots. And see, I've got all the buffs back up, so they're doing mortals and stuff like crazy. And then this Bastiladon's shooting twice. Kroak is up on his Balewind. He's doing mortals into you. So between all that, those Hearthguard died. I think we may have lost the last couple of them to Battle Shock maybe. But they succumbed to the weight of dice from the Skinks. So he never did get the Volkite Berserker, or not the Volkite, the Hearthguard Berserkers in combat, that's kind of their specialty. So that failing the charge and then getting double turned against a shooting heavy army that's a nightmare for Fyreslayers. And that's exactly what happened. So tough break there to see that power block disappear. But that was the majority of my forces there were put into that for 2 turns. So I was happy to see them disappear. I think I'm still battling the other Volkite Berserkers over at my objective, but I've got him, or on my right side, but I've got him outbodied. On his turn, I think I did teleport some Skinks over to this one. They couldn't capture it this turn, so I kept him back a little bit further just to make this charge longer. So I didn't want him making an easy charge. I wanted him to have to try to make a long run because it was going to be real close to get within 3. He probably held those guys back a little bit too long. They probably should have been up the board a little bit more in his first turn. But you hate to go forward towards the midfield against a shooting army. But I think you need to get those up a little bit further maybe. He gets out the lava monster. It does some mortals to this guy. He keeps rolling. It's 2d6 movement for this thing, but it keeps rolling real low. So he wanted to get it over here into this Bastiladon so he could start bracketing that Bastiladon so it could take a rend. But didn't get it, so he's just working on these Skinks. Nice shot there of the lava monster. He also gets out the volcano, that volcano thing, and just starts... I don't remember what he shot there. He may have just started shooting some Skinks or something with that guy. So that's what... He ran his priest guy back down this hill just so in my charge phase I didn't really have a good target. And I don't think I wasted any command points shooting this one. I may have. I can't remember. I may have shot in his charge phase just to kill off one model. I think that's what it was. I killed off one Volkite Berserker over on that right side. So he brings this blob up here. I think he had to use a command point to get an extra inch so he could get within 3 and grab that objective. Since I had... Since the unit that was holding it previously is no longer holding it, he doesn't get to keep racking up the points. So we only got 1 point this turn. So at this point, it was... he's leading 3-1. So I had gotten 1 point on this one on my last turn. He had gotten both of them first turn, and then this one this turn. So it was 3-1 at this point. At the turn, going into turn 3, I won priority. Yay! So I did not get double turned, but at this point it was just kind of a matter of can he hold on to his objective. So if he can hold on to this one, he's up by 2 points, and we both grabbed those objectives in the second turn. So we're gonna meet each other on points at the very end, well, until the end, and so he'll win by being up 2. So it's now just a race of can I kill off 20 Hearthguard Berserkers in 3 turns. 20 models, 3 turns. Should be easy, right? Those guys are tough. So we'll see here how it goes. So I get the turn priority. I think all his prayers stayed. He wasn't able to get the wall up. He had tried to get the wall up on his last turn, and he wasn't able to. And so that was brutal, because if he could have gotten that wall up, it would have saved him from taking quite a few shots. So I took, go back to this in the last picture for a second. So I took this unit here, and I pumped them up with my buffs, and then I teleported them over to here at the end of movement. So I just had a lot more models. I think they still had a full, there may have been 33 models. I don't know why I remember that number, but I think there were 33 left, so he may have killed off 7. And this unit that was here only had maybe 15, and they were still stuck in combat with those guys, so I was just going to let them try to finish off those Volkite Berserkers. And we're going to teleport this big block here to try to do some damage. So on my turn, I pump them up, do a couple spells, do a couple buffs, and then send them in here. And so my Bastiladon's still kind of making his way. He's getting blocked by that big fire monster in between the wall and the fire monster, but he's within range to shoot. So I'm able to shoot this Bastiladon, these Skinks. These Skinks were able to take out that last Volkite Berserker, and then these 66 shots worth shoot into him. So we're wearing him down. I don't think we removed too many. It was like 3 or 4, so it wasn't a ton, but we're slowly moving the rest of our bodies over here. One of the good things about putting this unit teleporting here, I was able to run my 2 Skink heroes right here, down here, so they can support this unit. So if I need to shoot them again in his combat phase, I can, or in his charge phase, I can. But also they can get the buffs back on them for the next turn. So in his turn, let's see I don't know what picture we got. In his turn, he finally gets off the wall. So he puts up his wall, which he's tried for 3 turns to get, and he finally got it. And so that actually saves him from me shooting in his charge phase. So normally I'd be able to shoot in his charge phase, and that wall basically blocked out anything that was eligible for that command point. So I wasn't able to shoot anything there. So he just holding on, putting out some damage from his spells, not spells, magmic invocations. So he's putting out a little bit of damage there, taking out a couple skinks, whatnot. So in my turn, at the turn of from 3 to 4, I win priority again. It's just the story of this game. I kept winning every single priority, and his wall fell down. No! So it disappeared. It went away. Both of the other 2, which the volcano over here, which was useless now because he didn't have a hero near it, and this guy, which isn't really doing too much, really, both stayed alive, but his wall fell. So that hurt. So in turn 4, his wall fell, which means I'm going to get to shoot with all of this guy, and then I teleported this Bastiladon over there. I buffed him up from my other priests that were hanging out over on the left side, and then sent him in. So he's flying. He's +1 to his save, if that would matter. He's +1 to charge. He's +1 to hit. So he's doing pretty good. So I get to shoot with both those Bastiladons, and then all these Skinks. I move them up a little bit just so they can get in range. I guess all of them were in range. These ones might not have been, so that I was moving up to get them in range some. That Bastiladon actually did some work. So normally you just kind of write those guys off in melee. 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1, D3 damage. So it's not, if it goes through, it's going to hurt. But I think I rolled all 3 dice, hit, went through, and then rolled high on the damage. So it did quite a bit of damage, and a lot of that damage snuck through. On his return, I don't think he may have gotten 1 or 2 wounds through. He threw all his shields at him, or axes at him. Didn't do any damage. Then hit him with a whole bunch of attacks, but I think maybe 1 snuck through. So not enough to bracket him. Which, that's crazy, because those guys are incredibly tough, incredibly hard. So he may have attacked again, and I think this time he got a few through and was able to get him bracketed down to maybe 4 or 5 wounds left. But that first attack, just only getting 2 wounds through from the Hearthguard Berserkers? Whew. That's nice. That's nice. So let's see. Oh yeah, close in shot. Get him, Bastiladon. So turn 3 and 4. So we're still. I'm still 2 points behind him, and it's going to come down to. Oh dang it! I just gave it away. Go back. Okay, it's going to come down to the priority roll. If he wins priority roll, he'll score his own objective, and game will be over because he'll be up 2 points. So I can't do anything about it. So that will be it. So he would score 5 points for that one, and it would be game over. So or 4 points for it. Sorry, 4 points. And he'd be so far ahead, it didn't matter if I scored mine, it would have lost. But if I won priority, I still couldn't win unless I could clear the rest of those Hearthguard Berserkers. So what was it? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, maybe 11 of them left. So I had to clear 11 of them in my turn if I got the priority to win the game. Well, guess what happens? Usually when given an option of, hey, one roll, win the game, or one roll and then you got to do 5 things, somehow it always ends up being the other thing that works, right? So I win the priority roll. So I've still got a chance. And you see here, I just crashed down with everything. Both Bastiladons came into combat. All the Skinks were in. I was able to get Kroak spells in range. And so it was just everything possible into those guys. And I was able to kill off the very last model for a picture-perfect finish there. I mean, it was close. It was amazing. So ended up winning the game versus Fyreslayers. There's kind of the last shot Kroak. That's a proxy Kroak. It's just my normal slot. I'm still working on my Kroak proof. Yeah, see, he's working on Kroak. I've cleaned up the fine cast, which is terrible to work with. So anyway, so there's the last part of the game. He's got a couple heroes left, but nothing in range. So I was able to steal that one and then score mine for an extra 5 points. And win the game there. Look at, I still have 5 command points. Didn't even need them. So 5 command points left over. I was able to summon an extra couple Skinks, couple units of Skinks in this game, so that was kind of nice. Just extra bodies, extra shooting. Every little shot matters, but heck of a game. It came down to the very last priority roll. If he could have won the priority roll, it would have been over. He would have won. But I got that priority, and then I had to kill off every single one of those guys and managed to do it. So I was thoroughly impressed with the Skink list. They put out a ton of shots. So if you can get a double turn and then get a chance to shoot in their phase, I mean you're looking at close to 500 dice because between all those units there. Shooting my turn, if I get a double turn, shooting again in my turn, then your turn in your charge phase, I'm going to get to shoot again. That's insane. That's insane. And that's not even I could have done 3 full units of Skinks and done even more. My friends probably wouldn't play with me. They wouldn't want to look at that on the table or roll against it. But that Fangs of Sotek ability where you can shoot in their charge phase is just, I mean, it's a huge threat multiplier just because they know if they're going to charge you, they're going to get shot by 80 shots. And, you know, they're going to take mortals because you might not get a ton of damage through, but you're going to get enough. You're going to kill smaller things. You're going to take out a couple units. You're going to bracket a monster. So it's not bad. I kind of just put the list together on the last minute, and it turned out to be pretty good. I liked it. So, all right. Anybody else running a skink heavy list? Anybody tried this yet? Anybody lose friends over rolling 500 dice before they get to do anything? All right, let me know. Y'all have a good one.